Okay, so what I want to show you today is the Hobo stove, how they're made and why they are so handy. Very versatile, can use multiple different fuels, and inexpensive. Now, I want to say that there is quite a lot of fancy pants Hobo stoves out there for sale, made in stainless steel, and it might cost you $100, but this is very inexpensive. Second-hand coffee can. Now these size cans, I think they're number 10, but they are still found today over the railroads, along the railroad lines. Once you get out in town, I'm sure a bit, but if you were to travel along the railroad lines at all, you'd see a lot of these old cans just rusting away. So they were used a lot back in the day. The day being in late 19th century, early 20th century, when the hobo was a thing. So what is a hobo? Hobo, according to Wikipedia, is a traveling worker. Generally on the poorer side, but a traveling worker. He is traveling around and working for his living. So he does need to be able to cook some of his own food. He's probably spending a lot of time out in the outside camping, because he doesn't want to have to pay for accommodation. You see my chicken in the background there. I'm a bit worried about what she's doing. I think she's eating an egg. Sorry, chicken. Anyway, I had a little bit of egg eating going on. Now I've upset him. Bugger. So, a hobo, travelling worker, which is, a poor travelling worker, which is much better than being what was the other one? Tramp, which is a person who doesn't work unless they absolutely have to, or forced to work. That's a tramp. And a bum is someone who does not work at all. And that's all from Wikipedia. Very interesting. So I've got main ingredients for a hobo stove. Now it's on the top of the can only because I'm going to light this in here, and I don't want it burning that way. I don't want it burning the table. Okay, you can still see that. That'll really work. So first thing you want to do, pull the outside covering off, because otherwise it's going to burn and give off in this case, a plasticky smell. You don't want that. I'm just trying to see if you can see what I'm doing. Okay. I got most of it off. Alright, then you want to make some holes around this bottom edge. Now I'm going to go about an inch up. There's a reason for that later on. It adds to its versatility if it is a little bit higher up. The way it might have been done by the hobo, making himself a stove real quick, he probably used a punch made out of a nail. Okay, just worked his way along like that. Obviously, I've got drills and stuff I could do this with, but this is actually working fairly well. Although it is bending in the can. My nail's getting blunt. More. Alright, so I've got holes all along the bottom. Also going to need, getting back to the versatile side of the thing, I'm also going to need a way to stoke the fuel in. You can stoke it in from the top, but it's also handy to be able to stoke the fuel as far as the wood or charcoal or coal in through the side. So I'm going to make another hole there. Now, where I want to go? About there. And about there. Alright. That's probably going to be big enough. The other thing I'm going to want is a couple of holes to put there's a couple of rods that I'm going to want to put in there. It'll make sense in a minute. Need another nail. That one should do. So with those, I'm going to go about here and about here. Up at the top of the can. And I'm also going to want, kind of on the opposite side, matching them. One there. One there. Alright. So, bent the can a little bit. If you want to make a nice hobo stove, then by all means use a drill. I'm trying to make something that's easily improvised. Now, let's see here. I need to cut this out. I do have a pair of tin snips there, which I might cheat and use that. But I think back in the day, they probably just used their knife. Yeah, that's working fine. Don't recommend you do this. If you've got tin snips, use them because there is a lot of sharp edges on this. Alright, so I'm going to open that up. Once again, sharp edges, be very careful. Alright, good. I might put a couple more holes in there. We'll see how that works. I think that's enough ventilation to get good, good breathing of the fire. So kind of what I'm making, you've heard of rocket stoves, and this is kind of like a simple rocket stove. And then I'm going to put the fuel in here, and you're going to get the heat's going to rise, and it's actually going to draw air in through all these holes in the bottom and the front here, and it's going to put a nice flame up the top, and that's going to make it more suitable for cooking. Now, there's a few ways to do the top, depending on what you're going to be using on here. For example, like if you've got another number 10 can that you need to boil water or melt snow, you might use something like that, and you notice it's got a gap underneath here, and that allows the fire, the heat, to come up and come out, and it keeps it all drawing and working correctly. But much more if what you're doing is boiling water, such as to make a coffee or a soup or a stew. So this is just some heavy duty wire, what's that, 1/4 inch maybe? I already made them up. It's just a piece of mild steel with a bend on it. And we're going to slide those through all the way to the outside. Okay. And hey presto, you have your hobo stove ready to go. And the next part I'm going to be showing you what are the different fuels and basically how it works. Alright, so I missed that whole bit there, but the first fuel, I forgot to push play I think. Anyway, the first fuel I'm using is wood. It's the most commonly available fuel, what most people think of. You can go most places in the country, in the world, and find wood. and I just got a few chips of wood and use a bit of toilet paper and bacon grease to get it started. Something that is similar to wood that you should consider in certain areas, you might have dried up cow dung or other animal dung, which will burn very well in this Hobo stove. You've also got grasses, probably a few other natural things I can't really think of at the moment, but anyway, same sort of deal as with the wood. You know, throw it in there, light it, and in the Hobo stove it actually burns very efficiently. If you notice at the top of here the flames are coming up the side, that's because I've got plenty of space around the top of the stove, and so the heat can rise easily. Like if I just put something flat over the top of the Hobo stove, it would actually almost what's the word, asphyxiate it. Anyway, it would stop it breathing correctly, and there'd be a lot more smoke, and you would end up you know, having to use a lot more fuel. It wouldn't be an efficient way to cook with wood. Whereas this is working really well. It's going to boil. There's 2 cups of water in the cups canteen, and it really only got going as I started this video, so that's about 2 minutes. So we'll see how long that takes to boil, and then I'm going to try a couple of other styles of fuel for this setup. As a Hobo stove, obviously this was used you know, in the day of the Hobo, turn of the century to early 20th, and there's probably still people doing it now. You know, I saw some sort of YouTube documentary on people who are still illegally riding the rails, and they had like some sort of hobo convention somewhere. But like right now, this is February 2021, and there's some sort of huge ice storm, snowstorm, bad weather down in Texas and over a lot of the other parts of the country. Even here it's snowy and windy, and people are losing their power, and you know, they may need some way to cook and heat, and this may be a good choice. Now I'm using wood in here. It's putting off a lot of flame. The smoke's bearable, but if this was in a enclosed location, well, this is semi-enclosed. This is in my shed, my greenhouse, barn, whatever you want to call it. So it's semi-enclosed, but I've got plenty of ventilation here, so I don't have any problems. But if you were to do this in an enclosed space, you could definitely have a problem. Not only with being uncomfortable with the smoke, but it may even take all the you know, put too much carbon dioxide into the air, or carbon monoxide into the air, and you could end up dying. So be sensible about how you use something like this. And I think I've been talking for a minute now, and it is almost boiling. Yep, almost there. Yep. And it's ready for a cup of coffee. Alright, about a minute, maybe 2. Alright, next up will be another fuel source. Not sure which one yet. Okay, the next fuel I'm going to use is charcoal. Now, obviously charcoal is still used today, and in my opinion it is the best way to cook meat, like a steak or whatever on the barbie. It just tastes better. It really does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of charcoal in the bottom to start. Alright, once that's in, I'm going to put my tinder, which is once again just a little bit of toilet paper or other paper soaked in lard. I've got to find some matches. There we go. You see that? Yeah. And then I'm going to start feeding in all these pieces around it. Maybe a little harder to get going, possibly. But watch that, put it out. Still going. Right, so the way you might have to do this, like that's going at the moment, it just looks very slow. But you may have to actually light a little, wood and twig fire in there to get the charcoal going. Now, charcoal is used not only for having a barbecue, but it's used in a lot of the world as a cooking fuel and heating. It is very good. It's probably the most, like from what we can make ourselves, it's probably the most energy dense form of fuel. So if you were going out camping in the great outdoors, or if you were on a bug out or a get home or whatever else, and you needed to carry your fuel with you for whatever reason, charcoal's not a bad choice because it's light. Most of the water's out of it. Most of the aromatics, like turpentine and stuff like that, it's already been burned off from the wood to make the charcoal. So it's worthwhile carrying. Of course, you can carry firewood as well, but it just a lot more weight for less cooking power. Another thing that, getting back to the Hobo, what they probably did back in the day is they probably picked up bits of coal. They probably picked up bits of coal along the railroad and used those the same way I'm using this charcoal. So there's that there, and it's going nicely already. Now I suspect that using charcoal in your Hobo stove as a cooking fuel is going to be a better fuel for actually cooking meats, like if you were frying up some meat or roasting or whatever. What do you call it when you're or grilling? I suspect the charcoal is going to be a better choice because it will provide maybe less heat for a longer period of time without all the smoke. And that brings me to another thing with the charcoal, because all the aromatics, turpentines and whatever else in the wood have already been burnt off, then there's much less smoke, which can be handy for a couple of things. One, just you having to breathe it in if it's in a semi-enclosed space, and also if someone's looking for your cooking fire. So it's got some prepper stuff going on there too. There's a few good reasons to use charcoal. What was the other thing I wanted to say about charcoal? Oh, it is available just about everywhere. So this charcoal, obviously you can buy charcoal in the stores. You can buy hardwood charcoal, which is by far the best. This is actually a kind of a soft wood charcoal, which I pulled out of my so I got my ashes out of my heating stove, and I just cleaned them up this morning, and I pulled out the charcoal, and that's what I'm using right now to do this cooking. Oh, I got a little bit too much water in my cups canteen. Make sure it's not hot. Pour it off. There we go. Oh, I got some in there. Oh. So much for my smoke theory. It's just because I poured some water in it. Semi put it out. See if we can't get that going again. It's burning, but it's still got some smoke in there. We'll see how that goes over a few minutes. Might have to give it a bit of time to reheat up that charcoal. But it is working. I think it would be better for like cooking steaks and stuff, because it's going to be a slower slower cook, slower heat. But it's definitely kicking out some smoke at the moment. Alright, so this is going to take a little bit longer. I will cut this here and come back into it when the water's getting close to boiling. So the charcoal that I'm using in the Hobo stove, it produces a lot of heat, but over a longer period of time. So compared to the firewood, it's not the best thing for boiling water. All right. However, it's been about an hour now. I actually stocked up the charcoal nearly to the top. All right. So it's ready to, not quite boiling, so it's ready to put in. You can make some noodles or boil some rice and beans, that sort of thing. So it is suitable for cooking like that. The smoke has gone away, it's just burning along nicely. And so it has definitely got usability as far as a cooking fuel. I will say that, throw this up here. So I put my hands around it like this. It is radiating a large amount of heat. It makes a much better heating fuel probably than a cooking fuel in this instance. However, give it time. You know, if you've got all the time to wait for it to get up to steam, so to speak. I believe it'll still be good if you need to, roast a piece of meat, fry an egg, something that requires less heat for a longer period of time than boiling the water. So let that fit down in there. So yeah, really good heating fuel. And as far as the cooking fuel, it's okay. Especially as far as a cooking fuel, it's okay if you want to cook quickly. All right, if you want to roast something slowly or cook very slowly, it's probably really good. And I could improve the amount of heat produced, make it burn quicker by putting more holes in and around the bottom area there. That'll give it more oxygen, and I can get more heat out of it that way. But just as it is, as a plain old Hobo stove, it has a little bit of limitations. So all I did there, I closed up that front entrance just so I could stock up more charcoal in the can. Alright, so that's the charcoal. I might just try frying an egg and see how that goes. I think it's going to work fairly well. So let's see how that goes. So there's my cast iron fry pan, bacon grease, actually lard, manteca. So I'll let that heat up and see if it's suitable for frying an egg. Okay, let's see if this works to fry an egg. So this is my Hobo stove, and I managed to boil water, cook some noodles. Actually, cook the noodles with this charcoal, just leftover charcoal. It's not producing as much heat as the wood on its own, but it should be good for slow cooking things like eggs. there we go. That is frying slowly. So I'll let that go. I'm not going to bore you with the whole process. It's probably going to take 15 minutes to fry an egg, but yeah, it'll fry slowly, and it'll probably be very well done. A really good egg. But that's the charcoal. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last section of the video, but charcoal's available in many forms. You can buy it. Like this stuff here is recycled from my heating stove, like my wood heating stove. You can find it in like burn areas out in the wilderness. There's places that have burned, and there is charcoal out there, or you can actually make it yourself. So charcoal is a good cooking and heating fuel. In this instance, the way it is right now, it's still giving off a lot of heat. This is probably 2 hours since I started this section of the video. It is still giving off a lot of heat from the outside. I've had to top up a bit from the top. So it seems like in this instance, it's actually better as a heating fuel than a cooking fuel. But if I was to cover it in, such as in a charcoal barbecue, I could get better performance out of it. Also give it more air around the bottom to breathe. It would work better for that. But you can see that it's cooking. It'll cook. It's slow, and chances are when it's done, it'll be the perfect egg. Now I thought, since I'm at it, I may as well add a little bit of this. I'm not sure if you can even see that corned beef, woolly beef, spam, although spam's made from ham. This is supposed to be made from beef. But if I was to slice off a section of that, and fry it up at the same time, I would have myself the complete breakfast. Beautiful. Alright, let that slowly cook on the charcoal. I will be back. Okay, time to flip it over. Oh, corned beef is falling apart. Egg's doing well. Yeah, once again, this is going to work. I am able to cook on it. I guess I would prefer it cook a little quicker, but it is working. Alrighty, I believe it has cooked long enough now. The corned beef, I mean it was already cooked anyway, it was in the can. And the egg is, I mean, as far as an egg's concerned, that is perfection. No sloppy yolk, thoroughly cooked. Alright, that might be my dinner. So the need to take that off. Charcoal, depending on what you need, it is not the best cooking fuel. Once again, depending on what you need. If you need mostly heating and you want to cook something on top of it, while it's heating, whatever you need heated, it's pretty good. And I will probably equate this with coal, although I haven't tried coal in the Hobo stove, but I'm pretty sure they used to use it back in the day. But now I'm gonna throw some water on that, and I'm gonna stop that charcoal going, and I'm going to try a couple of other fuels. I'm thinking kerosene and yeah, maybe alcohol, like denatured alcohol, but Anyway, I've got a couple other ideas for fuels that I want to try in this stove, and you can draw your own conclusions. I've got chickens over in the back there scratching away. Okay, the next fuel I'm going to try is a little bit of kerosene. Common heating fuel. I'm not sure how it compares to what they call number 1, number 2 heating oil, but kerosene is very common, for cooking and heating. So what I'm going to do, throw that over there. I've got a pair of 100% cotton, thereabouts. Yep, 100% cotton. Cargo pants that the arse is falling out of. So I'm just going to make myself a quick wick. There we go. So this is going to be a fairly large wick. You could probably do it with a smaller one, depending what you need it for. Large piece of cotton, second hand. I'm gonna kind of fold it up a little bit. I actually think I can get 2 wicks out of this, so I'm going to cut that in half. Okay, so I ran out of space on my phone there, and then it cut out recording, so I'm not sure where I'm at the moment. But what I was doing is trying to demonstrate another way to use the Hobo stove, and this is with this is a piece of like 100% cotton. It's actually from an old pair of cargo shorts, and I'm going to throw a little bit of, you want that in the middle, of the Hobo stove, and I'm going to pour sand on top of it. Alright. Honestly can't remember where I learned this. I think it was from US Air Force Survival Manual. But anyway, so this should work for diesel, kerosene, and I think also gasoline. But don't go messing with gasoline, it's way too dangerous. But I am going to try putting in a bit of kerosene in here. Now if it works with this, it should work with the diesel as well. Alright. Hopefully I didn't put too much in there. I'm just going to cover in the outside. No, it went all down. We're good. I'm going to fill in a couple of areas there that look a little low. There we go. Alright, so this may catch on the outside temporarily, but hopefully you will be able to see on the inside here. I'm just shifting my camera down. I know it's weird. There we go. Right, so like I said, you might catch on the outside. This is kerosene. I'm going to put the rods through on the top. So it started out a little rough, a little bit too much heat, but it's slowing down now, and I'm going to go get some water and see how it works as a cooking fuel. pause that for a minute. Okay, kick that up a bit. So we've got about 2 cups of water in the cups canteen. Still got a lot of heat. In fact, almost too much heat coming off the kerosene. Maybe I should try pouring in some more sand. Let me try that real quick if it doesn't burn my hands. So I'm just pouring a little bit more sand just to try to slow down the heat. I don't need that much heat. There we go. That slowed it up. Oh, slowed it up too much. Ooh. There we go. All right. That is pretty good. So I will watch it for a few minutes and see how it goes. But I managed, with a little bit more sand, I managed to cut down those flames, make it into a more usable cooking flame. So now, with a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of working, you could probably do the same thing with kerosene. And once again, I think I heard someone say you could do something like this with gasoline, but I wouldn't mess with gasoline. You saw the way it was with the kerosene, and that was bad enough. So gasoline's going to be almost explosive, so don't mess with gasoline. But here we go, the kerosene's working well. I think after this burns it out, I'm going to try some cooking oil in about the same setup. So with the sand and stuff, I'm going to try some cooking oil. So this is about halfway through the boil, and you know, it's settled down. There's plenty of heat. I've got no doubt it's going to boil quickly, and I will have hot water very soon. Smoke's not too bad. I mean, I can smell the kerosene, but it's not too bad. The main thing that worries me is what happened originally. There was way too much flame coming off it, and that's probably what's going to happen if you try to do this with gasoline. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Once again, wouldn't recommend it. And the next one I do will be with cooking, like vegetable oil, cooking oil. So, and it should work similar to what this is working. Alright, so the water has, well, pretty much boiled. Yep, painfully hot. Water's boiled. I didn't get out of here for a bit. I could have added a little bit more kerosene to keep it boiling longer, but I think I'll just call that good. And now I'm going to try basically the same setup, a wick, the sand, and but this time I'm going to use vegetable oil, which I'm not even sure what vegetable oil is anymore, probably canola oil. No, soybean oil. So then I'm going to try that with soybean oil and see how it works. Okay, once again I've got a piece of 100% cotton wick made from an old pair of cargo pants, cargo shorts, and I'll put that down on the bottom. Ooh, it's still hot from the last one. No matter, I'll work it out. So and then we throw the sand down in on top. Just gonna level things out a bit with this old knife, and pour in some soybean oil. Pour it in via the wick. Let it soak in, soak down. Oop, starting to dribble out the back end. No problem. We can do that. A bit more. Yeah, it's still slowly coming out the back. This is just because I'm being a bit quick about it. Basically, I want to pour the vegetable oil in, let it soak down to the bottom of the can. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that I wanted to keep the holes up about 1 inch, and this is why. It's because it gives me about 1 inch of oil storage, so I can put these oils into the sand, and it'll actually hold it there and will burn for a longer period of time. The wick is very long. Oh, burning my hand. The wick is very long. It's going to burn down, but at first it's going to burn probably, yeah, it's going to be more flame. It's going to burn a little bit hotter, but pretty quickly that is going to burn down and be usable. Put these back in it. They're still hot too. Alright. Put something on there to cook with. And I have an emergency cooking device. Alright, I'm going to pause this and I'll come back when it's burning correctly. Once that wick has burned down. Okay, this is an update on the oil, sorry, the cooking oil, what is it, soybean oil, with the wick in the sand, and it didn't really go for that long. There's still quite a bit of oil in that sand. It's not working as well as the kerosene, so that's a bit of a fail. There is definitely a way to do it with the soybean oil. I think I'm going to have to use a much larger wick, and I probably don't need to use the sand. The sand was for use with kerosene, diesel, possibly gasoline. Anyway, so that's dying out. I'm going to dump it out, and I'm going to try it with nothing more than a bit of charcoal as a wick and soybean oil, yeah, vegetable oil as a fuel. Okay, so what I'm going to try now is some lumps of charcoal. These are actually hardwood charcoal. I'm going to just lay them down in the, I'll put them on the bottom of the Hobo stove. Throw in some cooking oil, soybean oil. Let it soak in. Alright, so that's come up to the level of those holes I made, which is, by the way, why I made those holes about 1 inch higher in the can than what they needed to be. Now, I just have to light it. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to light it from the top, just so I can get my hand in. A little bit trickier to light, but I will get it done. Oh, no, that went out. Let's try that again. drop the match. Now if I can get it lit from the corner there, it should take the rest of the charcoal. And what will happen is, if I get it lit, the charcoal will begin acting like a wick and wicking up the oil. Almost had it. Oh, burning my fingers. Alright, I'm going to go get some tinder and see if I can't get this lit. Okay, so I've got some tinder, which is toilet paper soaked in lard, but I've also got my blowtorch. Hopefully that'll be enough. Turn it round to the left a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. Yes, you can. So the only thing burning at the moment is the tinder, the toilet paper soaked in lard. The other two pieces have gone out. Hopefully this will keep burning. I'll pause this for a minute, come back to it in a few and see if it's burning as I hoped it would. Okay, so this took a little bit more getting going, using pieces of charcoal soaked in the vegetable oil, soybean oil, but it started going now and it seems to be working really well. So here's another possible fuel source for the Hobo stove.